Hi, this is Auntie Stine. Nice you're with us again. You're just about to hear another story about God's love and care. It's called Was It an Angel? Today I want to tell you a story that happened a number of years ago. For me, it's a very special story since it happened to me. Let me tell you the story, and I hope you will enjoy it too. Do you like to go to camps in the summer? I do. I'd just been visiting a big family camp in Germany, and now I was on my way back home to Denmark, where I lived at that time. It was a very long way to travel, even though Denmark and Germany are neighbor countries. I was going to travel by bus, so someone from the camp had offered to bring me to the big bus stop outside a city called Kassel. I had to fit in with their plans, so they had brought me there many hours before my bus was to leave. I was sure the bus was leaving at 8:15 p.m., so I felt I had plenty of time. I'm a real nature girl, so I did not want to spend much of my day down at the bus stop. I was blessed to find a green spot not too far away. It was some nice bushes and green grass that I could lay down in. I thought it would be a good place to rest, read and pray, and just wait until it got close to 8:15. Then I could go down and wait for my bus. There was only one problem. I had not looked properly at my ticket. The ticket did not say the bus would leave 8:15, but 18:15. That's the way we write the afternoon times in Europe because of the 12-hour clock. And 18:15 means 6:15 p.m. Can you see my problem? I thought the bus would leave 2 hours later than it actually would. And so I kept staying at my nice grassy spot while the bus came and left without me. And I didn't even have an idea about it. Oh, that's not a big problem, Auntie Stine, you may ask. Couldn't you just take the next bus? Well, it's not so easy. It was not like the buses in the city that comes every 10 minutes. No, this bus only came once a day. The other problem was that I'd forfeited the cost of my ticket because my ticket only applied to the bus that I just missed. If I would go the next day, I would have to buy a new ticket, and that's a lot of money when you travel from one country to another. So you see, it is always good to look an extra time to be sure you have the right information. If you ever have to travel with a bus or a train or a boat, or maybe just meet a friend at a certain time, it is very wise to double check that you actually know when. No, I had not paid attention to that, and now I was in trouble. I should soon find out. As it was getting close to 8:15 p.m., I found my way down to the bus stop. I waited and waited and waited. Those buses travel long distances through Europe and is not always on time, so for a while I thought it might be delayed. But finally I decided to have a look at the schedule. And you know it. Suddenly it dawned on me that I'd missed my bus. Not only that, it was already late at night and I was alone outside the city. No more buses to Denmark that night. What should I do? Yes, what do you do when you get in trouble like that? What would you have done? It was really my own fault that I was in this tricky situation, but there is one thing about God that is so wonderful. Even when we get in trouble because we cause the trouble, He is such a good loving Father that He's always there ready to hear our cry. And yes, I cried. I mean literally cried. But as I was crying, I pretty much automatically started to pray too. That's the wonderful thing about having learned about Jesus since I was a child. I know I'm never alone and that I have a never-failing friend who is ever willing to help his child. And so I talked to my Father in heaven, and He started to talk back to me through His word. Did He really talk to you? You may ask. Well, it was not like I heard a voice, but Bible verses that I had learned by heart started to flash back into my mind. You know, the Bible is the Word of God. So God was speaking to me through His Word. I'm so glad I learned Bible verses all the time since I was a child. Now I have a little Bible verse bank in my head, and even when I do not have a Bible, God can draw out the Bible verses from the folders in my mind and show them to me when I need them the most. Do you also learn Bible verses by heart? You may never know how much you will need them one day. I cannot remember exactly all the verses God took out of my mind folders that day, but the verse I always think about when I remember this story is Romans 8:28. Maybe you have learned that verse by heart too. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to His purpose. What is God actually saying in that verse? Well, I think He says that if we love and trust Him, even the bad things that happen in our lives can be turned into something good. All things work together for good, it said, so all things must include the bad ones too. How could God turn my problem into something good? Well, I should soon find out. I talked to my Father in heaven, but I also thought I would call my Father here on earth. That's my dad. I was not a little girl anymore, but even when you are a big girl or a young lady that is not married yet, it is a good thing to have a dad to call to. So I picked up my phone, called Dad and told him my problem. Then I tried to explain an idea that had come into my mind. Dad, a friend of mine was at a camp. Remember Christina? She told me that after camp she would visit her sister. And her sister lived not very far from where I'm now. I don't have her phone number, but I know you know her parents. Could you try to get in touch with them and then get the number of Christina's sister? Could you ask if I can come and stay overnight with them? Maybe they can pick me up at the station if I can catch a train. Well, Dad was happy to try. Dads often seem to like to help their daughters, just like God always does. While I waited for Dad to call back, I found my way to the train station nearby. There were no direct trains to Denmark that night either, so my hope was to go to Christina's sister. I hoped Dad would get in touch with them and get back to me soon. I cried and prayed a bit while I waited. Suddenly, something happened. A man came to me, a total stranger. "What's the matter?" he kindly asked. He seemed caring and nice, and I told him that I'd missed my bus to Denmark and hoped to stay overnight with some people in Bremen. Bremen was the city Christina's sister lived close to. "Come with me," said the stranger. Normally the young lady should be very careful with following strangers. But in this case we were still inside the train station, and he wanted to take me to the computer that could tell us when the next train to Bremen would leave. That should be okay. He was very helpful, and he quickly found out that the next train would arrive very soon. "But I don't have a ticket," I told him. "That doesn't matter," he said. "You can come on my ticket." Back in those days they had some weekend tickets that you could buy, rather cheap, and take with you a certain number of friends. He probably had such a ticket. I don't tell you this story to encourage you to go with strangers, as that can be very dangerous. I was not a little girl when this happened either. I was a young lady, so that's a little different. Also, I only went with him on public places, not into his car or into a corner or things like that. That is not the point of my story, but I just wanted you to know, so you don't get yourself into trouble. Anyway, just around the time when we had phoned that a train would leave soon to Bremen, my dad called. He had gotten in touch with Christina's sister, and they would pick me up at the train station in Bremen if I could get myself there. Wonderful! So, soon we were on our way down to the train, the stranger and I. I felt everything had gone so smoothly. I was amazed at how God had answered my prayer. I looked up to the man beside me, and yes, I really asked the question, "Are you an angel?" What do you think he answered? He said, "No, I'm not an angel, but God told me, help that girl." Wow! Here I'd been praying to my Father in heaven, and my Father in heaven had told this man to go and help me. That was such a wonderful thought. It really moved me and filled me with so much thankfulness that it overflowed. I started to talk to people on the train about it, and I've told the story ever since. And now, you hear it too. I traveled so much in my life. I don't know how many buses and trains and planes I've been on, and so many of the trips are more or less forgotten. But not this journey, a journey that started out so bad. Don't you think God meant what he said when he told us that he can turn bad situations into something good? I do. Remember that next time you get into trouble. And also remember to stay out of trouble as much as possible. Don't you think that story was very special?
Yes. I guess it was even more special since you actually experienced it.
Can I ask you a question this time, Auntie Stine?
Of course.
Do you think God hit the real time the bus should go just for you to have this experience?
That's an interesting question, Hannah. I'm sure God had his hand in the whole story, but the fact that God turned the situation into something good doesn't mean that I don't have a lesson to learn.
Can you explain what you mean, Auntie Stine? I don't really understand what you said.
Well, sometimes we neglect to be diligent in taking care of details, like checking out that we have the real times when we're going for a bus ride or something like that. Just the fact that we know that God is good and can turn bad things into some good things in the end doesn't mean that we should be less careful about the details.
I remember in the story that when you were standing there and didn't know what to do and were crying, God started to flash Bible verses into your mind, what you had learned by heart. I also have learned some by heart, and I would like to learn more, because I see that they're very helpful in such situations, and they could help me in difficult situations as well.
I would like to do that too. I think they are easier to learn when I can sing them.
I find that too, Hannah. It's really so nice when we can sing Bible verses together sometimes.
Auntie Stine, why did you ask that man in the story if he was an angel?
Well, I was really impressed with what God had done and how he had used this man to help me. I'm actually really glad I asked the question, because what he said was so nice.
Yes, I can imagine that it was very exciting to hear him say that God had actually told him to help you.
Imagine that God in heaven, who has so much to do and so many people to care for, still hears the praise of each one of us. I'm so glad it's like that.
I'm sure he has protected me many times as well. Sometimes we don't even see it. God may save us from many accidents we don't even know anything about.
That's true, John. And God is also the one who can give us wisdom so we can see his guidance.
Auntie Stine, why did you say children should be careful not to follow strangers?
That's because it's not safe just to go with anyone who may offer you some help. Especially you children should be very careful to be close to your mom and dads and let them take care of you. I did not tell my story to encourage you to follow strangers, as you know, but I still thought it's such a nice experience that I wanted to tell it to you so you could hear how God was helping me. Only when we are close to him and keep asking him about guidance we can be safe in this unsafe world.
Since God used that man to help you, he can also use us to help others, or not?
That's such a good thought, John. Every day when we wake up in the morning, we can actually ask God to lead us to people that we can be his helping hands for. And in that way, people just like me can get the help they are praying for.
I like that. I would like to be God's helping hand.
Yes, God helps us so we can learn to help others. He answers our prayers, and then He wants us to become the answer to someone else's prayers. Isn't that beautiful? All things work together for good, He says. I think it would be good to sing a scripture song right now. Would you like to join me?
Yes.
Of course. All things work together for good. All things work for good to them that love God and are called according to His purpose. All things work together for good to them that love God. All things work together for good. All things work for good to them that love God and are called according to His purpose. All things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28.
Isn't it so nice that we can sing God's word together? I hope you will learn this song too and remember Romans 8:28 for the rest of your life. As we say goodbye for now, I thought we could sing another Romans 8:28 song for you. Repetition is good. If you listen carefully, you will hear that Romans 8:28 is the refrain of this song, and maybe you can join us as you learn the song. Life's not always easy, it's so good we have a friend, a mighty God and Father who is faithful to the end. If we're happy or if sad, He's by our side so near. In darkness or in light, there's no need to fret or fear.
All things work together for good. All things work together for good to them that love God and are called according to His purpose. All things work together for good.
Sometimes things do happen that are hard to